We'll talk about the NFL's trade deadline because that's going to be a
Oh
big
God,
deal
that
today.
every year I agonize over that. I
It's like,
really.
Derrick Henry of the Titans undergoing that surgery. Looks like he's done for the season. So we need to cover that and see how that's going to affect them. How could anybody let you get away?
Hmm. Tell you what, nothing gives you more confidence that you're flying good old reliable American Airlines soon to have them cancel.
Have everything canceled? Yeah. Thanks a lot, Biden.
Oh God, I'm glad you finally figured. No, thanks a lot, Brandon. Which, by the way, remember, it's getting funnier every time. It
Jordan
never
Klepper.
stops being funny.
Jordan Klepper. It's their one good joke. Let him have it. Let him have it. All right.
All right, we
I'm
are
ready when
in
you are.
we are in business. Okay, thing back on the thing, and we're ready to go. Hey, it's the Brad and Britt cast, our first one for this week. Thank you so much. Glad you are with us here. Hey, you want to start off with something that's pretty stupid. We like to we like we like to beat up on Fox News, and for good
Sure.
reason. They
Yeah.
need to be beaten up on. So here you go. This is from Monday, and of course they specialize in arguing against shit or bringing up shit about stuff that either never happened, isn't going to happen, can't possibly happen, but is the worst outcome that will turn America into it's either Venezuela, Cuba,
Right.
Nazi Germany,
But we
Russia, China, right?
but what we really want to be is Hungary. That's what we want to aim
Hungary.
toward, right? That's what
Well,
we want to be,
that's
right?
that's aspirational. Okay, we should be so lucky, right? All
Right,
right.
exactly.
So here you have the midday host, a woman named Harris Faulkner,
Okay.
which let's not criticize her parents for giving a girl the first name Harris.
Well,
Okay,
I'm
let's
glad we
not
didn't
do
do
that
that. I'm glad
because
that didn't happen.
that would just be wrong, and that would lead us into all kinds of problems. But Harris wanted you in the viewing audience to know that President Biden could be sending parents who protest at school board meetings to Guantanamo as punishment. So the guest, of course, then is brought on to back that up,
Yeah.
lest you think that some talk jockey midday hostess person is just making stuff up. And uh, this is the Attorney General of Arizona. I'm not even going to
Wow.
say the great state of, which is the worst cliche ever. That's another one that needs to be stomped out. Every person on TV, stop saying the great state of blah. No. All right. Especially when the state sucks like Arizona does.
Well, they did.
So,
They voted for Joe Biden. I mean, they're part of the solution, not part of the problem in 2020. They've got a lot of other stuff going on, but yeah.
they're not great. So the attorney general's name is, and what was the name of the character in the bazooka? Was it Joe Batifsplit? Had no vowels in the name.
In the Bazooka Joe cartoons, you would unwrap from the gum.
Right. Wasn't that
I
the
think
name?
that's correct.
All right. This man's name, and he is the attorney general. See, we've moved on from Harris.
Yeah.
His name is Mark Brnovich, spelled BRNOVICH. So there's three consonants at the beginning of his name.
Jeez.
Brnovich is how you might say it. So here you go. Here they are discussing this issue. And here it comes.
Joe Biden and Merrick Garland essentially want to weaponize or continue to weaponize the Department of Justice. And just because parents are exercising their First Amendment rights to speak out against critical race theory or even vaccine mandates does not make them domestic terrorists. And if we allow the Biden administration.
Okay, of course, now you've got somebody arguing against something that, of course, was not said. And of
I
course,
believe that's called a straw man. I believe that's a straw man argument. That's what that is.
That's a straw football team. That's just not a straw man. There's Merrick Garland, and they never said that protesting at a school board meeting makes you a domestic terrorist. Threatening the shit out of people and following them home and leaving threatening messages on them. We might have something to talk about here.
There you go.
This, God forbid, you're going to end up with mom and pop at Gitmo. Think about how outrageous that is, Harris, to think about.
That is outrageous. Could that really happen?
No.
We are living in a time where we all need to make sure that we are protecting our constitutional rights on every single level, from the local school board levels to the state and especially on the federal level.
That's interesting because you say one leads to the other.
That
sounds like a slippery slope, which is how you got there. Mark Brnovich, thank you for being in focus.
What I noticed was he didn't answer the question.
Of course,
that's what I noticed.
Because you know what the answer is.
No,
which is could this really happen? No, of course not. And you know why? Because they would be sent to Alcatraz. Everyone knows that you send parents who protest at school board meetings to Alcatraz. Oh, I'm wrong about that. Alcatraz isn't open anymore as a prison. See, that was the problem with my attempted joke.
Sing Sing still available. Hello.
Sing Sing. Yeah, Rikers Island still in business. Sure. I take your thing too stupid to talk about, and I raise you one. Roger Stone says he'll run for Florida governor if Ron DeSantis doesn't conduct a vote audit in the state where Trump won. This is Yahoo News aggregating from someplace. Roger Stone, longtime Trump ally, threatened to run to unseat Governor DeSantis if DeSantis does not conduct an audit. I heard Ron DeSantis said that Florida had the most honest election in our state in 2020, yet I know for certainty there are 1 million phantom voters. 1 million, Brad. Not 950,000, not 3 million. 1 million phantom voters on the Florida voter rolls. These voters simply do not exist, and they should be sent to Guantanamo. That's what Roger Stone is doing as he may run for governor of Florida. Yeah, he's going to run. He'll have a lot of support, and a lot of people will donate to his campaign. And you know what? He'll surprise us. Stop it.
He will.
Okay, that's like you saying, you've been watching football all season again, and you have watched the team that we see the most, the Carolina Panthers. And if Coach Matt, Rule?
Matt Rule.
Right,
Ruhle.
If he doesn't get this quarterback situation fixed, you're going to march right to Charlotte and play in the game as quarterback.
That's right.
That's about as likely as Roger Stone running for governor. I mean, that is too stupid to talk about the fact that it's too stupid to talk about. But it's real. It's a story. And we have to address everything. We have to take everything seriously. They didn't take Trump seriously, blah, blah, blah. So now the bar has been lowered for anyone saying anything that for a moment you have to address it, right? And so there we just addressed it.
Let me tell you what is actually happening in Florida, and this is a little disturbing. Governor DeSantis has blocked professors from testifying against his bullshit laws, trying to block people from voting. Florida's flagship university, that would be the University of Florida, is under fire for violating the free speech rights of 3 professors it blocked from testifying in a lawsuit challenging the state's new law of voting restrictions. The top University of Florida officials asserted it was a conflict of interest, Brad, for professors to testify in the lawsuit because they're state employees. They work for the same place that DeSantis works for. So they can't testify. It's a notable turnaround in university policy, which for years allowed professors to testify in lawsuits against the state, including one that unsuccessfully challenged the state law that restricted voting rights for convicted felons. That is what's happening in the great state of Florida.
Well, there's no surprise that this is his response to people who would be challenging him, especially people who out-credential him in any kind of area of controversy. And so, how does this get resolved? Well, it's probably going to get resolved in the courts, right? Because I assume these professors are going to sue on their own behalf or have people file a motion on their behalf to allow them to speak. Think about how stupid what I just said is. That professors at a state university have to sue to get their right to speak about an issue of great public interest to the citizens of that state. Now, will there be judges in place in Florida who, if they hear this case, might say that the governor is all-powerful, all-knowing, and is doing exactly what he needs to do to protect the citizens of his state? You know, you can find a judge, of course, now, probably to do just about anything, I guess. That's how it works. So that isn't too stupid to talk about. That would be the least surprising thing that you could put out on the table there today, because DeSantis is just that is quite a competition there between him and the governor of Texas right now on who is, that's the Southeastern Conference versus what's Texas in these days?
Big 12, I believe. The Big 12.
They're not in the SEC yet.
Not yet. No. It's going to take a year or two before they get everything all bought out and all that good stuff. But yeah,
right.
they're still competing in the Big 12.
Right. Right. Yeah.
There's another one that's too stupid for us to talk about. And speaking of Fox News, they're reporting that Biden appears to fall asleep during climate change, despite claiming it's the greatest threat to U.S. security. I believe these are the same people who said he shit his pants this weekend, who are now saying that he fell asleep during the climate change thing, Brad.
All right. That one's too stupid to talk about. Take that one down.
All right.
Because if I train a camera on you, Britt, for 3 hours at a football game, I guarantee I will catch you at some moment with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
And you will, quote unquote, appear to be asleep.
Yes.
All right. So let's just move on from that one. That one's too stupid to talk about, because the implication of the story, of course, is that if Joe Biden falls asleep at a conference over climate change, that must prove there really isn't any, and he doesn't care about it, and he would rather be back watching football in the White House. That's the implication there. I'll give you a little bit of fun stuff to chew on here. I saw this morning the latest write-up from over the weekend about the press secretary, CJ Psaki, testing positive for COVID. And here's how the story is headlined in one of my favorites, the Daily Mail, the most widely read news website in the world. Ready? Double vaccinated White House press secretary Jen Psaki reveals she's tested positive for COVID, the highest ranking White House official to catch the virus. But that first part, double vaccinated White House press. So you know what the goal of that headline is. Again, to show that being vaccinated doesn't work. It doesn't help. And if you're not vaccinated, we're your go-to place. We're going to provide you with all kinds of backup.
Do we have the link where Dr. Fauci said that getting the vaccine will make you not get the virus? Do you have the link to that? Because I'm sure there were a lot of health experts that said that.
All right, but okay, so wait, so hang on. So after that article, by Monday morning, there were already like 2,500 comments. They really get a lot of comments on it.
Right.
And it took me to get maybe down to 300 or the 400th one that wasn't total fuck you vaccine, fuck you Biden, fuck you Psaki, you bitch, you deserve it, I hope you die, you're all lying, and this is proof. Oh my God. All right, it's all that kind of shit, anti-vax stuff. So this is what I wrote. And my comment did make it up there.
Oh, good.
It is there. So I didn't know there were so many fans of the virus itself. It was one thing when in the 60s folks protested the Vietnam War. They did so for many reasons. One of those reasons was because of the draft, which involuntarily sent you to possibly die 10,000 miles away from home. A pretty good reason to protest. Now the protests are against a modern miracle of medicine, the COVID vaccines, which can save your life and the lives of others you know and don't know. How lame, how selfish. The opposite of artificial intelligence must be real ignorance. No supply chain problem spreading that around, plenty of it for sure. The comments on this subject prove the abundance of Trump-fueled anti-science, cherry-pick the stats, own the libs, at any cost stupidity. As a 2024 candidate, would Trump or will Trump brag about he personally should get 100% credit for the vaccine, or will he stick with a large percentage of his base, the refuseniks who have dismissed the vaccine? Of course, he will do both as the hypocrite that he is. And there's a reply to my comment. And here it is. It's from San Diego from someone called Surf Rockets. Surf says, you should get your science from someplace other than CNN or liberal government officials. If you look outside that circle, the modern miracle that you point to lasts 3 months and kills or injures many people. And your science, my science, right, completely ignores the obvious that people who have had COVID have actual immunity. Or just ask yourself, if your vaccine works so well, why do others have to be vaccinated to protect you? I think that's a perfect distillation of what the attitude is. First of all, it's your vaccine. You know, it's not. It's the world's vaccine, naturally, and I guess it kind of speaks for itself. You see, John Bon Jovi tested positive.
I did not see this.
He tested positive, and he canceled a concert thing over the weekend. So again, that's more proof your vaccine doesn't work.
Yeah. Get him on Joe Rogan and make fun of him. As the death toll, by the way, from COVID-19 passes 5 million. 5 million human beings worldwide have died from the coronavirus. I suppose that also is a huge lie, or it's way more than that or way less than that, or I'm not sure exactly what the dickheads that were commenting on your stuff would say. I guess they would say it's way less, but they're pumping up the figures, right? Would that be the right-wing extreme position on that?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's difficult to figure out what they're saying a lot of the time, isn't it?
No, and these police officers and firewomen in New York who have decided that they're not going to have big government tell them they got to get that vaccine. It does almost make you ready to rethink all the hero shit, doesn't it?
In some ways, yeah. There's a lot of that, and we certainly, as you pointed out, we need to go back in our books and forget about the vaccine mandates for kids entering kindergarten. No more Pertussin, no more whooping cough, none of that stuff. That needs to go away.
You're not joking. You are, but you're not, because if anything, these folks are consistent in their ignorance. And since they are, there is no reason to believe that subsequent to now and going forward, the children of anti-vax people against the COVID vaccine should not be getting their kids vaccinated for anything, right? They should just be little free disease kids.
Little petri dishes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how could you justify getting all of the vaccines, which, by the way, I'll bet if you went back and could get the numbers on how long it took to get the number of children vaccinated that equals the number of people who've gotten the COVID vaccine, and the argument that, well, it's too new, it's not tested, it's not approved yet, it came on too fast. I will bet you that it took years and years and years for those original vaccines against childhood diseases, of course, to get put into the arms of little kids, right?
Sure.
To show if you need, mass vaccination over time,
Right.
to prove that the scientific method of using, 40,000 subjects and half of them get the vaccine, half get the placebo, and then they measure that, and then they say, was it safe or not safe? Does it work or not work? So the logic right now is just, it's so opposite. I mean, what was the Superman? What was the Superman opposite? Was a Bizarro world? Bizarro Superman?
Yeah, Bizarro. It was Bizarro. Yeah, Bizarro Superman. Right.
Right. In other words, this is the most, now I believe, widely tested in real time on real people vaccine in the history of the world. More people have gotten this vaccine more quickly than anything ever. And so if you're sitting around running around saying, I'm not getting it yet, it's not it hasn't been proven to be safe over time. In other words, that, by the way, that's the ultimate fallback. You can't answer this, I can't answer. You know what? 25 years from now, it's going to kill me. It's, you don't see it now, but it's going to get me.
When I'm 80, I think I'm going to be gone. Yeah, it's going to be all over.
That's right.
Well, there are a lot of, there's a lot of fake statistics you can find. The vaccine is killing people, if that's what you want to believe. I'm sure I could find a Reddit thread that would direct you to that. And this is, I mean, kind of deep in the weeds, but this is a very different vaccine than the ones that we gave, like the ones we took when we were kids, that would put a latent form of the virus into your body, and then you would produce antibodies. The punchline of all this is that what we've learned during this pandemic, as far as messenger RNA, it's going to change vaccinations as we know it going forward. It's going to save a lot of people's lives.
No, it's not. Not if these people have anything to do with it. This will be the last one, Britt. This will be the last one. Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but there's going to be a lot of people, and not just in big industrialized Western nations, but also in third world countries, that are going to benefit from all this, despite the gnashing of teeth and the weeping and the wringing of the hands and all of the anger that's involved. Science does march on, and it's going to help a lot of people. I'm sorry to say this, when you say,
no, I don't want to hear.
And when you talk about when they go through this thing about, like, and even in Mississippi, even in the great state of Mississippi, Brad, there's no religious exemption for not getting your kid a shot in their arm before they go to school.
There ought to be. Hey,
I'm sure there will be. Give them a minute to get back in session, and they'll go ahead and get that done, so we can get smallpox back and rocking here in the United States before it's all over.
Yeah. Hey, I have the most esoteric philosophy 101 question that did not exist in philosophy 101 classes all across college campuses everywhere until last Wednesday. Here it is. Can you get COVID in the metaverse?
In the metaverse.
Does COVID exist?
Yes. Yeah, it exists in the metaverse.
You have the answer already?
Yeah. I hope what doesn't exist in the metaverse is Donald John Trump. There he is. There's Asshole the Magnificent making his appearance, inviting himself to the World Series in Atlanta on Saturday night, where he does to prove that he owns the libs. He tomahawk chops with his wife, the Stepford wife herself, Melania Trump, who was later caught on camera looking completely disgusted, as though she's faking all the happiness for the cameras. Donald Trump inviting himself. And again, the Atlanta Braves have become a cause celeb to shove everything up Major League Baseball's ass for taking the All-Star game back from the Atlanta Braves due to the voting restriction laws being passed in Georgia. And now they're getting their revenge by winning a world championship, possibly. Maybe they're up 3-2. The Houston Astros would have to win 2 straight games, Brad, after last night's victory by the Astros.
You have that math correct? They would have to win 2.
They would have to win 2 because they're down 3-2. If they lose one more, it's over.
3-2.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I have trouble doing the math on those.
That's right.
World Series thing, because it's an odd number. I don't work well with.
It's odd.
First of all, I don't know if anybody saw this. I think the liberal media covered this up. On the back of Melania's coat, it said, "I hate him too. Do you?" but they didn't show that.
I see what you did.
No. In all seriousness, the coverage, and again, I wasn't 100% tuned in to all the games all the time. I was in and out a lot. But this is a guy who, of course, it wouldn't be Trump without a lie on the way in, right? His lie of, I was invited by the New York Yankees to go to the World Series. And let me, again, Britt, I got to check myself on that. The Yankees aren't in the World Series this year, are they?
No.
And by the way, even if the Yankees aren't in the World Series, would they care to invite Donald Trump to Atlanta to see? No, of course they would.
I don't think so, because I mean, his good friend George Steinbrenner has been dead for a long time.
Right. So the answer is, of course, he lied about that. The Yankees said he lied. Major League Baseball said he lied, and those were bad seats. They were like way out there in right field, weren't they?
Well, they were club seats. I think they got him up close to a suite or something. That's what I'm thinking.
Close to a suite doesn't count. He was out there with the fans.
When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, we went to the games, and the great Buddy Ebsen was in attendance at the game at the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and I think they put him right next to the field. And Jimmy Carter, when he would go to the games,
tell the Buddy Ebsen story for me on WKEW.
I don't remember the Buddy Ebsen story on WKEW. You had him as a guest?
Yeah, we had him on as a guest. I think there was like during one, very late in his life, and he was, that was when he was doing his paintings or something of that sort. John the Catholic knows this story better than I do. I think he was listening or something, and I asked Buddy Ebsen some question that was really, really impolite and obnoxious
and provocative.
I didn't know you were still alive, or something horrible. Did you ever make it with Granny or some shit like that? I don't know.
Did you make it with Granny? Something.
Yes. And did Miss Hathaway watch?
Did he? Oh my! So did she? Did he? What did he hang up on you, or was he?
No. It was the whole thing was. I'm making it sound worse than it really was. It really wasn't bad. He was very nice. He was very nice.
But they gave him, they gave him like seats right. And anytime Jimmy Carter would go to a Braves game, there he is. He's right next to the field. I mean, he's just like within spitting distance.
There is just nothing more pathetic now, because remember, every day is one day further away from Trump having the trappings of the presidency, and we know that much of the attraction for Trump to be president are all those little things, like, just being able to sit there in a chair in the White House, say, I'd like to go to the World Series, and 50 people make sure that it happens. And he really does have the best seats. He doesn't have that anymore, as you can see from the other day. But
he got to slur Native Americans.
But
I mean, that's a great thing.
If you do something like this enough, it really does kind of lose its effectiveness. Don't you think? It kind of does. And I can guarantee you that every person that you saw, and by the way, and you're going to be shocked, because I'm going to compliment a corporation that we really hate. I think that Fox's coverage of the World Series is fantastic. I think those broadcasts, I think the visuals, the way they move around, and they're showing from above, and they're I mean, they are using, I think, the modern technology of television as well on and of course, baseball is a lot easier. It's a lot easier than some other sports, but in another way, it's harder. But when there's a controversial play, they really do have 5 different angles. When there's a slide at second, I mean, they really had that nailed down, and they got the call right, and all those other. And I think they're good. And I have to say, I even like Joe Buck. I have no problem with Joe. I mean, I think his understated way of doing the games is exactly what's called for. When the ball is hit to the shortstop, you don't need a guy saying ball to shortstop.
Right. You can see that.
He doesn't do that.
Unless you're blind, you can see it.
That's right. And in the great tradition of Pat Summerall, who was one of the masters of the silent moment.
Let it be.
It's pretty good, right?
Let it be and let it
all
breathe.
being said, in the case
Yes.
of Trump, whose cry for attention, for being relevant, for being in the conversation, will never end until he's 6 feet under.
Mm-hmm.
And
even then,
to see him have to show up at a World Series game, and we know what this was all about. This was to get the visual. This was to get the video to use in a commercial at some point down the road, right? That's all that it was, because we have no evidence. And again, I didn't watch the whole game, and they would not keep showing Trump on camera the way they would if he was president. Did he leave 1 minute after he was on TV, 2 minutes, or 5? How quick did he get out of there? He has no interest in sitting there watching the World Series in person. His wife is disgusted that they're there wasting their time.
I kind of feel sorry for his Secret Service detail, the people that have to be with him on a regular basis. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, how awful is that? How awful? What kind of hell? What did I do in my life to condemn me to a life of hell? Following this asshole around in a golf cart 90% of the time, and then we go to Atlanta and karate chop. By the way, we have some more details on the Buddy Ebsen story. John the Catholic said that he had laryngitis. Buddy Ebsen did.
Yes.
He was trying to tell you something about El Nino, and then you said, "Oh, I thought you were talking to your Mexican gardener."
I stand by that racist slur to this day. El Nino.
It's only been like 25 years ago. I think it's time for you to really come clean about this entire situation.
Time to put that. I like that story. I'm glad that's one of those ones that I can't remember.
I just remember being on
my friends.
I remember being on that station with you and faking that I was Larry Flint, and we fooled a lot of people when that movie was out. I was being Larry Flint, and people thought it was really him.
People versus Larry Flint.
Yeah, and I was pretending to
Woody
be
Harrelson
him.
played.
Yes.
Woody Harrelson played Larry Flint.
Yes, it's the same director that gave us One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That was the same
Milos
guy.
Forman.
That's the guy. The great Milos Forman. We're only a day away from those Virginia polls opening up, and it seems to be a dead heat. Terry McAuliffe and this Youngkin fellow, and there's been again, this is another Donald Trump. I need to get in there. I need to assert myself. There's going to be a tele-rally, and Youngkin will be involved, but he won't be involved. But Donald Trump's not coming, and he hasn't been invited. Youngkin doesn't want to be seen with him, and so this is coming down to the wire, and it's all going to seems to hinge on getting the black vote out in Virginia, is what I'm reading. I don't know if you're reading the same thing.
I'm not reading the same thing. I'm reading the. They need a big early vote that would already be in the can.
Yeah.
They need those counties right around Washington, D.C., where there are zillions of federal workers who hate Trump and were responsible for Joe Biden's big margin last year when he stole the election. You see what I did there? But I don't know. Look, we're at the point now where, of course, every election is end of the world, referendum on Biden, referendum on Trump, what did blah, blah. Okay, we know all those dynamics, and they're playing out in Virginia. But now every Republican is running for office on nothing, okay? They run for office on, we're really going to do nothing. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to couch it that way because since ready, education is now the most important issue in Virginia. It's all about education, Britt. It's all about parental control of the curriculum in public schools and not making your little Johnny read a book with a sentence or two, like Toni Morrison's Beloved, that will corrupt him for the rest of his life and give him nightmares. Or as the great columnist Leonard Pitts pointed out, a person, if they're going to get nightmares from Toni Morrison's Beloved, it should be over the issue of enslavement. where people have
Yeah.
no freedom. Okay,
Yeah.
it is not, and should not be revolving around cherry-picked, out of context passages that are just part of a larger, great piece of literature that I guess it's been taught in schools. You know, you and I have been out of school too long, so this is way after us. But I guess it's been a part. And, you know, this was in the advanced placement section for kids at 11th or 12th grade.
Whatever happened to Moby Dick? I want my kid to be taught Moby Dick.
Dick and Jane. Yeah, anything past that. And I just, and they seized on the issue with that and Terry McAuliffe's gaffing and saying in a debate that they beautifully took out of context and have rammed it up his ass over and over again. It's kind of this year's "you didn't build that" times 1,000 contained within the Commonwealth of Virginia, not the great state of, but the Commonwealth of Virginia, where Terry McAuliffe, who of course has the problem of his kids going to private schools and talking this way. But again, just because your kids go to private schools does not mean that, again, you're not allowed to have an opinion on public schools, and of course, but it doesn't matter. The facts do not matter. The Republicans, we've talked about this a billion times, are so much better at wedge issue culture war bullshit than the Democrats are, who are always seemingly on the defensive in cases like this. And the motivating factor for parents, and by the way, I don't even know, I haven't read enough, but I'm positive that whatever genuine grassroots concern there is, that the public schools in Virginia are just a complete mess because this book gave supposed nightmares to this kid when he was 17. Now he's 27, and his mom has been up the school board's ass for 10 years, and now he's a 27-year-old Republican operative, and they weaponize this, and the next thing you know, it's going to help defeat Terry McAuliffe the Republicans are better at this shit, at distorting and winning elections with nothing. I mean, they are, it's like they're a nonstop Jerry Seinfeld episode. Their campaigns are really about nothing.
Yeah.
They're about government doing nothing. They're about returning to a time that never was.
Yeah.
With people who never were. And
what was that Grover Norquist quote? I just want government to be small enough that we can drown it in the bathtub. Wasn't that the old Grover Norquist quote?
Well, I don't think it's old. I think it's forever.
It's an evergreen.
You know, it's right up there with, you know, Reagan's. We're from the government and we're here to help you. The 900 words in language.
Maybe if the government would have done more research on dementia and Alzheimer's.
What's the answer to that one right now? Dead President Reagan. Oh, we're here from private business. Facebook. We're here to help you. We're here from private. You know,
Pfizer.
We're here from. Right. Well, Pfizer did the vaccine, so
that's correct.
We'll cut them a break. But I mean, Virginia looks. You know, the surge right now looks in Youngkin's favor.
So what does it mean? But what does that mean overall if Youngkin ends up winning?
Right now, it almost doesn't matter unless Terry McAuliffe surprisingly blows him out, because it's going to be measured very simply like this. Biden won the state by 10. Less than a year later, in the governor's race, not only did the Democratic candidate not win, but he lost, and he lost by X. It will mean America has not rejected Trumpism.
America's perfectly fine, apparently, with what happened on January the 6th.
No, that's too deep. You're too deep. It's just we hate Biden now.
Oh, Biden sucks so bad.
Biden's a failure because, you know, Biden didn't pass legislation in the House of Representatives, where, as you know, he is a member, and in the Senate, where, as you know, he is a member.
He's a member.
Too weak, right? But it will be Joe Biden failure. But even if McAuliffe squeaks out a win, even if he only wins by a point or two, the Republicans, and they're better at this, they will spin this as a victory. They will say, look, we cut 8 points off of the Joe Biden lead. And so chances are pretty good that it isn't going to be a Terry McAuliffe blowout. You never know. Again, polls have been wrong. We know that. But
I'll take a victory. I'll take a McAuliffe. I don't care if it's by one vote or a million
victory.
and one.
The McAuliffe victory would calm the fear factor among Democrats a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. But what they will say, Democrats, if McAuliffe loses is, well, what do you expect? 9 out of the last 10 times in that governor's election in Virginia, which is always a year after the presidential election, the opposite party candidate has won. It always happens that way. That's how voters are, blah, 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 blah. And they'll show that. And that's largely true. I think there's only one. In fact, I believe the exception to that rule was Terry McAuliffe himself when he won in 2013 after Obama was reelected. And a year later, McAuliffe, the Democrat, won in Virginia. But I think every other time going back about 30 or 40 years, it's been opposite. So that's what the Democrats are going to say. And you know what that's going to mean? Nothing.
The Republicans need to stop the bleeding in some ways because they lost both of those Senate seats in Georgia. They saw the presidential race. They carried, despite the fact that they're saying it's not true. Arizona went blue and so did Georgia. And now they're like, we have to get back to even. We have to win this Virginia thing back because it has to be seen as not a huge sea change. And like you said, it has to go back to its regularly scheduled programming where the governor's race goes back into Republican hands. And if they're able to peddle it with bullshit like this, like little Johnny's going to be brainwashed with critical race theory and all this other nonsense, then they'll consider that a massive victory for sure.
Well, but Virginia, by any measure, is now a blue state. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Way more registered Democrats than Republicans. So what are Republicans good at? They're good at ginning up hate and emotion and driving people to the polls in a very confined situation like just a governor's race. They're better at it, and they found it. And Terry McAuliffe handed them a bit of the sword. And if you surround that with the hearings last week where the senators beat the shit out of Merrick Garland over the issue, completely disingenuous and fraudulently. Right?
You mean Merrick Garland putting parents in jail? That was the issue, by the way, which is completely legitimate. How many parents have been thrown in jail so far by Merrick Garland in the Justice Department, Brad?
Britt, it's just like Trump won the election. There was fraud. Where is it? Well, I can't show it to you, but I know it's there.
It exists.
Britt, how many parents are in Guantanamo placed there by Joe Biden? None so far. I can't name them yet, but it's going to happen. So the answer is you can't win the argument. You never can win because everything is down the road. Well, I'm not going to get a COVID shot because 25 years from now, my dick might fall off.
We want to finish up not on that note, but on this one. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a tremendous piece in the Washington Post, which is one of the most well-researched and I think they said that they interviewed more than 230 people and they go almost minute by minute, leading up to and after what happened on January the 6th, the insurrection at the Capitol.
Right. I started reading that before we started. Of course, I haven't gotten through it all the way. How does it end? What's the end? Don't spoil it for me.
If you thought Lindsey Graham was a massive asshole before this, and you thought you could not think less of him as a piece of shit, you'll be incredibly surprised by the time that you finish this. He's an even bigger piece of shit than you could have fathomed.
Yeah. But just the first part of it, where they absolutely positively document that during those first 2 hours, Trump just went into the White House, turned on his 400-inch TV, and just sat back and ate popcorn and watched it happen. And apparently he liked that a lot more than, say, the World Series Saturday night, because I think he stayed glued to his chair. He didn't leave.
It's
That was
it's
kind
a
of- those
ghoulish.
people were his people. His people.
It's a ghoulish and garish situation because there were a number of his aides that were outside the Oval Office hoping he would open the door and say, come, wave them in so that they could tell him, hey, could you get these people from trying to murder Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris? But he wasn't in his office. As you say, he was in the dining room snacking on Diet Coke and Cheetos, watching his people and trying to lie and say that it was Antifa that was doing this. By the way, Kevin McCarthy, who was the head of the Republicans in the House of Representatives, called and said, oh, no, motherfucker, these are your guys. Can you please stop them from trying to kill me? And that's all. This is what, by the way, I think Beloved should be taught in schools. This should be required reading for anybody in public schools. And I don't give a shit who you are, what state you live in. This is absolutely American history. And this is absolutely well-researched, fully annotated versions with backups here and there and everywhere about what happened on January the 6th.
Here's the problem. What you just said is totally correct.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the bifurcated media, the wedges that have been driven in between people in this country and their media habits, the people that should read that or should have their eyes opened up with toothpicks, like in Clockwork Orange or right, and be forced to have this read to them and see it. Not unlike the New York Times video version that came out a couple months ago. All these are they're irrefutable. Those people are much more likely to see the 3-part series from Tucker Carlson on Fox Nation that says what happened on January 6th not only is not what the Washington says or what the New York Times says or what Rachel Maddow says. It was the U.S. government itself in a false flag operation designed to make Donald Trump look bad. And that these were people hired by the government to cause a backlash against Donald Trump to make him look bad. And that's the Tucker Carlson thing that you've heard about for the last week or so, that I'm sure will get the most views ever in the history of Foxnet, right?
Yeah.
And so what you've already read, have you read the whole thing, the whole post?
I have.
Okay.
It's, and
I'll
there's
finish it up, but I know where it's going, and I've read the first part, and it's great reporting. It sounds like that's not just all hands on deck. That sounds like the entire Washington football team, a number of people who worked on this to get it right, to nail it down. But
they got a statement from Donald Trump about it, and instead of publishing the whole thing and just saying, we'll let the readers make up their minds, like the Wall Street Journal did, they just published his denial and said, we're not going to publish the rest of this bullshit because it's already debunked crap that he's going to try to trot out, which I thought was great of the Washington Post to do, because apparently the Wall Street Journal can't. But then the Wall Street Journal went back, I think, on Friday and said, well, we got to correct the record. Some of this stuff he says is bullshit. And he still kicked their ass. Donald Trump still got pissed off.
Worse than that. It's worse than that.
Yeah.
All right. So they published the Trump lie letter, which was really the length of a column on Thursday. They get blasted for it.
They did.
They get blasted for it from without. They get blasted for it from the people on the other side of the Chinese wall that supposedly exists in great newspapers between editorial and news gathering. Okay. Current people who work at the Journal, former members of the said this is outrageous that they would just publish a letter from Trump that is full of already debunked lies and disinformation.
But their answer was, "Hey, our readers are smart enough to figure it out."
Well, but wait, in that first paragraph, when they try to defend themselves, and by the way, they defended themselves later in the day. That's how quick they knew they had to get on it. And it may have been in the physical paper Friday, but by late Thursday afternoon, it was online. They're just completely dismissive defense of their publishing this letter, saying that even if what a president like Donald Trump writes is completely bananas, we feel the obligation to publish it. And all of you people out there, you moral monitors of the world, get a grip. This is what you do. And of course, what else were they going to say? They had nothing. They were wrong. We know it, they know it, and the American people know it. Donald Trump, and now you know that the journal was wrong to publish Trump's letter, because Trump has attacked the journal for saying that what was in the letter that they shouldn't have published was bullshit. So Trump then attacks them for fact checking his bullshit.
Exactly.
Think of that.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the old radar detector problem. What do you have in your car? I have a radar detector.
They bent over backwards to make sure that the shit got out there. Gave a lame excuse, and he still kicked their ass. He still goes after them. There's just a newsflash for you idiots at the Wall Street Journal. You can't win with this motherfucker. So stop publishing his shit. There's a thought.
Let Breitbart have that one.
Sure.
Don't. And by the way, this really does get to Rupert Murdoch, and we're watching, of course, the great HBO show Succession, which we're about the fourth or fifth episode of this season, and it's a great show, and it won a zillion Emmys, and it deserved it. And of course, it's how should we say, not very loosely based on a Murdoch-like family running a Fox-like network that has basically helped fuck up the world. I mean, that's the story. And there's a patriarch. But here's the difference between the patriarch on the show, Logan Roy, and Rupert Murdoch. The patriarch on the show is only in his mid-70s, okay? So he's not retiring, and he's trying to redeem himself or get out of whatever problems that the company is in right now, because they've been caught doing all kinds of bad things. Rupert Murdoch's 90. He is 90, okay? Right. And I know we have a lot of Rupert Murdoch fans out there. I think he has a lot more road behind him than out in front of him. I'm just guessing.
I hope so. I certainly hope that's true.
And to realize that this guy oversees the largest media enterprise that has put the country in danger, the democracy in danger, and the world in danger politically for the last couple of decades. And at 90, he knows better. People who know him know that he knows better. He knows Trump sucks. He hates Trump.
Right.
But he has made the business decision. And remember, he runs the Wall Street Journal. That's his call. I guarantee you, in the end, it was probably Rupert Murdoch's call to run that letter. That's one of those ones, I'll bet you that nobody at the Journal wanted to have final responsibility for without getting the sign off from the big guy. 90-year-old Rupert Murdoch. And the way Rupert Murdoch has worked all these years is, not only is if it bleeds, it leads, but if it gets us attention, we want it. If it can help us make more money, we want it. Do we care about the collateral damage that anything we've ever written or televised or put up on any screen anywhere, if it damages the country that we operate in? You want to talk about a fucking unthankful immigrant. He's the worst immigrant, and he's legal of any of them. I'd take 10,000 Mexicans running over the border tomorrow if we could eliminate Rupert Murdoch and, like killing baby Hitler. If we could have taken out Rupert Murdoch 30 years ago and denied him American citizenship. He first wanted to buy the Metro media stations, the Channel 5 in New York and Washington and LA and all those states. And that's what launched him. And he could only buy them when he got his American citizenship.
That's correct.
Once he got that, he was off to the races. I wish we could have sent him to Guantanamo then. I wish we could have denied him citizenship if we could have come up with some Think what the world would be like. Think how much different everything would be. there would have been no Fox News Channel.
No.
There wouldn't have been. Roger Ailes. Yes, he was the mechanic under the hood, but it took the money. It took the stick-to-itiveness of Murdoch and his empire that was behind him to stay with it and get it rolling. So if no Rupert Murdoch, a lot of problems solved. We say that about Trump too.
Yeah.
But at 90, this is your legacy. This is what you want to leave.
It's true.
And I have no idea what happens when he kicks the bucket. I know he's got 2 sons who don't exactly agree with each other.
Right.
By the way, just like on the show, except there's 4. There's 4 kids that all are fighting with each other over the empire and over who's going to run the joint.
So I assume that you've seen the promos for the Fox Weather Channel during the World Series.
I have not seen their
they're running them as of right now. It's just a streaming service it's always, it's 100% chance of raining bullshit in Fox Weather World. But yeah, they're running them, trying to get some promotional value to get some of the 90-year-old people to switch over to watch a streaming service.
I've been pretty nimble with not watching any commercials during the series, especially, hey, look, if Al Michaels is over on NBC,
there you go,
and it's a good game going on, is there any reason to sit there through commercials?
Nope.
During the World Series?
Absolutely not.
There's just no reason. So
absolutely not.
I don't know. Anyway, well, you know what? We didn't get to anything that I had on my list. I had a great one. It was going to be Brenda Lee is up there smiling today at our president. Now, you know what that one is? You know what that one is?
What's that?
That's and by the way, you'll see it everywhere. Joe Biden apologized to the world for Donald Trump for us pulling out of the climate agreement.
Yeah.
He said, "We're sorry. We apologize." Therefore, the Brenda Lee. You see, Brenda Lee was a singer.
Yeah, they called "I'm Sorry." That was a big hit for her.
And the other one was Word of the Year, Oxford Dictionary. Did you see that one?
No, what's the word of the year?
Get ready to be sort of bored with this.
Meta.
Vax.
Oh, vax is the word of the year.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Well, we can revisit.
And by the way, one more, and let's talk about this tomorrow because no one else will bring this up. This will be ours. We'll own this one. My sick little mind thought of this. Do you think, we can talk about it now if you want, shouldn't Joe Biden joke about the "Let's Go Brandon" thing? Isn't that the best way to diffuse this?
If he showed up in public, like when he's bicycling or something, with a "Let's Go Brandon" T-shirt or something like that.
Any way to because if he doesn't, that's very Trump-like. Okay, to pretend that there aren't people that dislike you and never acknowledging that anybody's funny and not being particularly funny himself, Trump. That's what he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he would go through a motorcade and people were throwing eggs, holding up signs, okay, you never got a thing out of him. Biden's a little bit more visceral, a little bit more reactive to things, and I think there's a chance to not only turn this around but defang it if you own it, if you embrace it, because of course, in and of itself, it's not an obscenity, right? It's just a stand-in for something.
Exactly.
Right. I think he should do it. And if he doesn't do it, then sanctioning someone else in the administration, or can you imagine if he got the cabinet together and they all showed up in T-shirts,
said "Let's go, Brandon"?
Yes. Here's Brandon. He's going. With arrows on the just something.
It's just sad that he can't fly back from Europe or whatever and show up at the World Series with a "Let's Go Brandon" T-shirt on. That would be great if he could do that.
Well, there's other events. He can show up at anything he wants, and he doesn't. He can create his own events. He's the damn president right now.
Well, and also
I think that he shouldn't let it. I don't think you should let that run. I don't.
No. Plus, you bring Brandon Brown, who is the driver in question, up to the White House, and you show him around. You hug the guy. I understand everybody's excited about this guy.
Yes,
we want him up here, and then you just show him around, and you give him some of the M&Ms and all that shit. I think it would be fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
All right, that'll do it for us.
We own that. We own that topic right now.
There we go.
Until you hear it I don't know. Somebody might bring it up. Donnie Deutsch, the ad guy.
Yeah, the branding guy.
on
One of the
MSNBC
great branding
all the
guys
time.
of all time. Sure.
He might be. I can hear him saying something like that, saying that don't ignore it, own it.
Yeah.
Turn it around, make it your own. That's Simon Cowell. You made it
Make
your
it
own.
your own.
Yeah, make it your own song, make it your own thing, and then you win, But boy, the ignoring it, that takes us all the way back to those Larry Kings where people would call up.
I don't know who he is.
They would, it would be, who's responsible for the blowing up of the embassy in Khartoum and Akron? Hello, Howard Stern's penis blew it up. Right?
I don't know
Larry
him.
King would pretend he didn't hear that. He didn't hear.
I never heard of him.
Right. Never heard of him. Don't know. No, didn't hear it. Next call. And that never worked. It never worked. Everybody knew he heard it, and he didn't want to go with it. So,
all right. That's it for us today.
That'll do it.
See you on Tuesday.